Dean was my funniest non-funny friend. Doing and saying nothing would be humorous. At one point, he told the staff to relax. He and I sat and spoke about nothing. He did that to relax me and get me ready for the scene. A frightening event occurred. Years after Dean Martin's terrible death, Angie Dickinson is speaking up. After Dean died, you attended and spoke at Dean's funeral. You stated, "I lost my partner and best friend, the man who made me who I am." She revealed surprising and intriguing information, leaving many intrigued and suspicious. People wonder why Angie Dickinson is finally talking about Dean Martin, the outstanding musician. Most importantly, what did she reveal? Discover this long-awaited surprise with us. Angie Dickinson speaking. Hollywood couldn't overlook Angie Dickinson in the late 1950s. She was a famous star due to her talent, beauty, and trailblazing career. She made more than waves. History was made. Angie was the first woman to lead a TV police drama inspiring others. She worked with Hollywood's top personalities. Few partnerships matched her chemistry with Dean Martin. At 92, Angie is sharing her journey's highs, lows, and secrets. Keep watching for her words. Looking back, Angie says she might not have entered entertainment if she could do it again. She noted that filmmaking was exhausting, 5:30 a.m. 6 p.m., if she was lucky. Though exhausting, Angie's influence on Hollywood was unmistakable. In a doubled film and TV career, Angie Dickinson hasn't been lucky. She joked that she never intended to do comedy and starred in dramas, thrillers, and westerns. She received 3 Emmy nods for her game-changing policewoman role. Angie enjoyed the challenge of being a different character each episode as an undercover character. She enjoyed playing varied characters like a hooker or a down-and-outer and working with guest stars like Joan Collins, who she remembered as compassionate. Yet the tight routine exhausted her. Angie said TV stars worked hard. After 90 shows, she called TV series slave labor and wouldn't suggest them. She never imagined becoming an actress. She stumbled into entertainment through a beauty contest she didn't win, but it opened doors. This led her to the Jimmy Durante Show, where she met Frank Sinatra, initiating a romance and enduring friendship. Frank presided over John Wayne's homage last year. For the big guy last night, indeed the doll. However, Cheryl Ladd told me last night that she got Charlie's Angels after seeing our policewoman pilot. She said Sinatra was her heartthrob, but they never needed marriage to be meaningful. Angie prefers Rio Bravo over her other films. She appeared with Dean Martin and John Wayne in the Western. Dean was a terrific cat and darling, she said, and everyone liked him. She knew him, but working together strengthened their relationship. Her experience with John Wayne was notable too. She remembered how Wayne, a great professional, carefully helped her perfect her scenes as a newcomer. Angie admitted the profession took a toll on her, despite her success. She doubted her career due to the physical difficulties and lengthy hours. However, looking back at her career, she realized that despite her missteps and things she could have done better, she stood strong. Angie's memoirs showed her tenacity through Hollywood's worst times. Dean Martin, another Hollywood great, struggled early on. Dean's rise to fame was difficult, from his poor roots to his personal struggles. However, like Angie, he would overcome it all and become cool. Dean Martin's youth. Dean Martin was unique. He became the king of cool after rising from a working-class immigrant household to sing, act, and be funny. Lucy, this room can't fit all your friends, so we invited your enemies. His journey wasn't easy. Before becoming famous, the king of cool endured bullying, fractured bones, and personal tragedies. Dean Martin became a stage name afterward. Dino Paul Crissetti was born in Steubenville, Ohio, to Italian immigrants on June 7, 1917. His father, Gaetano, was from Montesilvano. He supported his family as a barber in a small Italian village. His mother, Angela, may have been Southern Italian, although her roots are unknown. Dean, raised in Italian customs by his parents, was proud of his heritage. Family life provided warmth and culture, while the outside world was harsher. Dean didn't speak English until age 5. His Italian accent and primary tongue made him a school target. As a Grant Elementary student, he was teased constantly. His early school years were ruined by classmates mocking of his terrible English. Dean adjusted his accent and became accepted despite these obstacles. Academics never appealed to him. Dean stopped going to school in his teens. He left school in 10th grade, believing he was wiser than his teachers and disillusioned with traditional schooling. Leaving school was a big deal for 1930s teens. Dean had to find his way in the world, which wasn't easy. After school, Dean briefly worked at a steel mill like his father. He left the hard work soon. However, his next ventures were unconventional. The entrepreneurial teen bootlegged alcohol during Prohibition for additional cash. What defines Dean Martin? Dean Martin did his thing. Dean Martin did something. The sound is distinct. Its style is distinctive. The look is distinct. I doubt it's copyable. Dean encountered shady personalities and deadly situations in Steubenville's murky underbelly through this dangerous job. Dean was also good at defending himself by now. Years of schoolyard bullying taught him to punch, which would help him in his next career. Fighting for prizes. Dean became prize fighter Kid Crochet to establish a reputation for himself in boxing. Dean sang Bing Crosby and Perry Como covers in local clubs. His velvet voice caught on, and he joined a band, receiving regular wages and gaining fame. Dean performed as Dino Martini, inspired by Italian opera vocalist Nino Martini. American anti-Italian feeling was still strong, and his name was a hurdle. I now address Dean Martin, who is being honored tonight for reasons I cannot understand. No, I'm not being fair to Dean because this is true. Dean, whom I know well, has a poet's soul. Bandleader Sammy Watkins suggested he take the simpler, more Americanized name Dean Martin, which revolutionized his career forever. Dean married first wife Betty McDonald at 24. They had 4 kids and a bright future. Dino Crescetti became Dean Martin, and his success began to strain their marriage. The ultimate blow came when Dean met someone who changed his life in many ways. Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis. Dean appeared in New York's Glass Hat Club alongside brash young comedian Jerry Lewis in the mid-1940s. They clicked and collaborated despite their vastly different styles. Their 1946 Atlantic City debut was a catastrophe. The crowd despised their routine, and the club owner threatened to fire them unless they improved by their next appearance. Dean and Jerry abandoned their screenplay and improvised out of desperation. Dean sang well and Jerry made slapstick jokes in their spontaneous performance. To their astonishment, the audience adored it. The pair's success grew. They frequented nightclubs, playing at Copacabana in New York. Hollywood noticed them and cast them in My Friend Irma. Even as Martin and Lewis ruled the entertainment industry, their partnership began to disintegrate. They broke up because these fissures were irreparable. Dean and Jerry were magical on stage. Their relationship was tense off stage. Dean felt like the straight man since Jerry's mania overpowered his laid-back appeal. Lewis is remembered by a generation as goofy and over the top, like in The Nutty Professor. Differences in ambitions and personalities caused conflict. By the mid-1950s, the alliance was near dissolution. Dean's personal life was also crumbling. Dean divorced Betty McDonald in 1949 and took custody of their children. Betty, uneasy in the spotlight, lived quietly in San Francisco. Dean quickly married lovely former Orange Bowl queen Jenna Bigger months following his divorce. Though their marriage was difficult, Jenna was his wife for nearly 25 years. Dean's career thrived despite his personal problems. Martin and Lewis become famous and made millions, enjoying creative project control. The tension between Dean and Jerry reached a peak in the late 1950s. Dean left the partnership to pursue a solo career, a bold move many anticipated would fail. But history would show Dean Martin was only getting started. Dean Martin was gifted. He couldn't avoid fame's torment. As tensions rose, Dean was cast in Jerry's shadow, with critics praising Jerry Lewis and reducing Martin to support. Martin was impatient, but a 1954 Look magazine picture shoot made him feel invisible. Martin was shocked when he saw the Living It Up magazine cover after appearing for a promo photo. He was entirely cropped, leaving Jerry Lewis. For Martin, that was the end. He finished. They still had to finish Hollywood or Bust, their final film. Lewis and Dean Martin became one of the most famous comedic partnerships, boosting his reputation. On set, tension was evident. Martin and Lewis rarely interacted off camera, cruelly pretending everything was fine for the production. Fans wanted to know what went wrong with Martin and Lewis' separation, a Hollywood milestone. Years later, Jerry Lewis said that his popularity had inflated his ego, and his behavior of Martin strained their friendship. Martin's vehement remarks doomed them. Martin became increasingly frustrated as Hollywood or Bust filming continued. After losing patience, he glanced at Lewis and insulted him. "I see you as an asterisk and dollar symbol." They finished the picture, but their partnership ended. Martin and Lewis split in 1956, exactly a decade after they started working together. Jerry Lewis assumed Martin would fail without him, but he was wrong. Frank Sinatra was one of Dean Martin's oldest Hollywood buddies. Martin met Sinatra in the 1940s. As he was trying to establish himself, Sinatra saw his potential, and after their breakup with Lewis, Martin was ready to go solo. He would find a new partner in the most improbable place. Dean Martin-Sinatra relationship brought him into the Rat Pack. Sammy Davis Jr., Peter Lawford, and Joey Bishop joined Sinatra. Martin led one of the most charismatic and stylish entertainment groups. Las Vegas sidewalks became their stage as their camaraderie, charisma, and wit made them legends. Vegas became Rat Pack-centric. The city adored their surprising, thrilling, and mischievous performances in upscale casinos. Just two amazing people. They existed. People used to criticize him. He's inebriated or likes fighting, etc. such thing. The Rat Pack was advertised at hotels like the Sands as Dean Martin, Frank, or Sammy, leaving audiences guessing who would perform each night. Without Jerry Lewis, Martin gained independence and popularity. The Rat Pack pushed limits in the 1960s, a vital time for America. Their comedy crossed taboo lines despite their polished appearances. They laughed about Martin's drinking, Sinatra's love life, and civil rights, refusing to perform at segregated venues. Their risk-taking won them respect and set them apart from their peers. Dean Martin was ready for solo stardom after defeating the Rat Pack. Dean Martin grabbed center stage with his variety show in 1965. Improvisation, wit, and uninhibited fun enlivened the 264 episodes. He often went on tangents that worried the network. Even though NBC tried to control Martin, his free-spiritedness showed. Dean Martin has more power than ever due to his fame. When renegotiating his contract, he obtained one of the strangest clauses in TV history. Not required to attend rehearsals, he preferred to spend most of the week golfing and just came in for taping due to his laid-back personality. His drinking and shenanigans sparked suspicions, but audiences liked him. Although renowned, Dean Martin's beloved inebriated character was an act. The stage drinker was one of the Rat Pack's closest to a teetotaler. He was always the first to leave the party to spend time with his family drinking apple juice. Despite the suspicions, Martin kept up the masquerade during the show. Why are you replying? Your contribution grows every night. You keep using more. That happened to Jerry. Martin's convincing drunkenness in Some Came Running in Rio Bravo became part of his image. Some audiences and tabloids believed Martin's on-screen image was his true self, even saying he had a drinking problem. The talk didn't bother Martin. While enjoying his solitude, he let it spin. Dean Martin had many peculiarities that shocked some despite his public presence. One of his most famous quirks was his elevator phobia. Martin, who was claustrophobic, always requested a first-floor hotel room. He once climbed 18 flights of steps instead of an elevator. This terror and his infamous notoriety heightened his mystique. Dean Martin's seemingly untouchable career faltered in 1972. He divorced after 20 years, and the Riviera Hotel in Las Vegas canceled his contract for demanding conduct. Martin had a midlife crisis at 55. As many do at such times, he made questionable decisions. Martin started dating again right after his divorce. He married John less than a year after his first divorce, and his second marriage was even faster. After his first breakup, he married 26-year-old receptionist Catherine Hahn a month later. The age disparity and hurried marriage showed that Martin wanted a quick rebound, not a long-term commitment. Martin's second marriage ended, and he soon proposed to beauty queen Gail Renshaw. The engagement was called off before it could lead to another marriage. Martin's love life was struggling, but he was about to revive one of Hollywood's most famous partnerships. Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis hadn't talked privately in 20 years. Frank Sinatra wouldn't let their friendship end. Sinatra surprised the two former partners at a muscular dystrophy telethon. As Martin entered, the audience applauded. But not before Lewis whispered, "You son of an asterisk, the emotional reunion didn't restore their relationship." Though Jerry Lewis was unprepared, the reconnection left him obviously rattled. He was shocked and didn't reply warmly. As the telethon continued, the couple enjoyed an emotional moment that healed their relationship. Though they never reunited, they maintained a respectful friendship throughout Martin's life. Dean Martin prioritized family. Martin loved his 8 children, especially Dean Paul Martin, his first. Young Dino followed his father's footsteps, mastering singing, acting, and professional tennis. Later, he flew California Air National Guard fighters. Dino was his father's pride and pleasure, and his tragic death devastated Dean. Dino vanished on a California desert training trip on March 21, 1986. Plane disappeared from radar, distant mountainous area. Dino was missing despite urgent calls and searches. Days passed as the search for the son of one of America's most adored celebrities increased, but hope faded. Martin struggled during the difficult search for his kid, depressed. Dino was never located despite high-profile efforts, including a Reagan spy plane. Martin hired 2 psychics in despair. One immediately recoiled, declaring Dino dead after touching his flight suit. The other led them to San Gorgonio Mountain, where Sinatra's mother died, through a vision. The wreckage was located 3 days after the incident, confirming everyone's worst nightmare. There were no survivors. Sinatra invited Martin on a large stadium tour to divert him from his overwhelming loss. The attempt failed. The huge crowd suffocated Martin, who favored intimate club performances. He and Sinatra, once inseparable, now fought nightly. Sinatra felt stadium concerts and late-night parties would cheer Martin up, but they did the opposite. Martin was too exhausted from sadness to attend the lavish shows and celebrations. Tensions between the old buddies rose during the tour. Martin got more detached as the atmosphere stretched. Dean Martin's stage presence slipped, Fans were disturbed by his atypical behavior, including forgetting songs, fumbling through lines, and flinging a lighted cigarette into the audience. The once-loved performer seems far from the one audiences once loved. After one appearance in New York, Martin left the tour. When Sinatra failed to get him back in the spotlight, Martin flew back to Los Angeles on his private plane. He finished. The legendary performer quit the tour and his buddies. Dean Martin, once a star, was gone. He became a shell after his son's death. The once carefree entertainer was forever transformed by sadness. His remaining relatives comforted him. Martin had a large family to support him after Dino's death. Many notable people became his in-laws, including Beach Boys' Carl Wilson and Olivia Hussey. Martin turned to his family for comfort after retiring from public performing. Martin got lung cancer in 1993. Martin refused surgery against physicians' advice. His family begged him to fight, but he gave up. Martin withdrew from public life in 1995 and spent his last year with family. He died at 78 on Christmas Day. Debonair Dean Martin died today at his Beverly Hills home. Martin's 1995 death from respiratory illness ended his reign as a stage performer with captivating voice and humorous timing. Despite his personal troubles, his entertainment contributions to American mainstream culture endure. What do you think of Martin and Lewis' feud? Could it have been prevented? Leave your comments below. Like, share, and subscribe for more. Additionally, click the video below. You'll like.